Hey guys, I'm the Spudler. Welcome to my channel. I was going to do a video this week on ethics and morality, but once I started looking into it, I realised what a subject it is. So today I've decided to focus on one particular part of ethical quandaries that we have with true crime, and that's the price of content. So let's roll the intro and I can get on with what I found out. So last week I basically went through what drives us to YouTube and to the true crime genre, which is the entertainment and storytelling, solving a mystery and consuming facts, the emotional attachment and desire to help that we often feel, and also we're here to understand our own trauma and prepare for the dangers that are out there in the world and to give ourselves a sense or a feeling of being safer, as well as being part of the community that shares similar interests to us. I think if we were all probably honest with ourselves, the initial and probably the strongest draw that we have to the true crime genre is because it entertains us and we have an element of escapism, drama, excitement with all those twists and turns and salacious, scandalous content. And I'm saying myself in this as well, because I'm learning a lot about what I'm doing wrong in my choices of viewing. And by researching this, I've definitely begun to understand the implications of my consumption. And I just want to share these with you. And from the research I've done, the biggest and most major problem with the true crime content is the content itself. Because content has a price, and it's not us that's paying it. And first off, I'm going to show you a clip from a channel called Lifehacker. The link will be in the description and I recommend you give her a look because it's a pretty good channel.
It's no secret that true crime blurs the line between entertainment and exploitation. Even if you aren't posting your own videos or delving into your own theories on Reddit, be thoughtful with what you share and comment on. Put yourself in the family's shoes. What if they saw it? How would they feel? Although engaging in conspiracies can seem benign, true crime misinformation, or even just semi-informed theorizing, it's always done at the expense of a real person and their family. To be a conscientious consumer, it means to think critically whenever you engage with a genre that's centered on real human victims. As with any attempt at ethical consumerism, it all comes down to being thoughtful and deliberate with what you're taking in and why. However you engage with true crime, there's a cost to your content, and the victims have already paid enough.
So I've now got a sudden awareness of the fact that every piece of true crime content that I consume, somebody is actually paying a price for it. But what exactly is that price? And who are the people that are paying it? And the first thing and most obvious thing that we all know about and we all fight against is the fact that these victims, their families and their friends all lose their right to privacy simply because someone they love has been a victim of crime. And that privacy isn't lost just for the duration of the case, it's actually lost for an awful lot longer than that. And just to reinforce that, I'm now going to play you the audio of a TikTok that was created by someone connected directly to a very big case. I'm not going to give her name and I'm not going to give any information about her. That's not because I don't want to promote her channel. It's because I respect her privacy and I think she really just needs to get on with her life. She's got her own personal battles at the moment. And out of respect, I'm trying to keep her as anonymous as possible. But what she said was very important, and I just want you to listen to it. I took this recording from a YouTube channel called Crooked Timber. I will put their link in the description.
I'm going to try really hard to not start crying. But you want to message me and offer condolences? Or say something to me nice about my friend and her children, by all means, please do. They are appreciated, they are welcomed, but if you want to message me and ask me questions about what happened or that day, go f yourself, really. It's nice to be checked up on, but it also sucks. It really, really sucks. Because you can be going about your day, and for that one brief moment where you're just caught up in your day and you're finally not thinking about how it could have changed or what you could have done differently or what somebody else could have done differently, for that brief moment, you're not there anymore. And then you get a text message or a message from somebody and you pick up your phone to read it and you're taken right back there.
So I think from that we can all agree that there is a cost to the content that we consume, but it does go a little deeper than just the things that we obviously think about, because we all know that delving into these victims' lives, their families and their friends' lives is very intrusive. But to listen to a lady who was embroiled in a case years ago that is now done and dusted, and she still feels this way, and it still reduces her to tears, I think we really need to remember that. And these are human beings, and they have to go on and live their lives, and we don't have any right to prevent them from healing. And that takes me on to the next subject when it comes to the cost of content. The more content we watch, the more desensitized we are to the real pain and suffering that these people are going through, and we dehumanize them. And that's done in a number of ways, and I'll probably cover that in a different video. But just be aware that the more information that you consume, and especially of a certain nature, the less human the victims really feel to you. You might think you're very close to them, but actually you're not. You just are in love with the story. Well, that's my view anyway. We're now going to listen to a young lady called Bethan Davies. If you listen in the background, I think she's probably in halls of residence, but she's got quite some interesting things to say. So let's go over to Bethan and see what she's got to tell us.
The line between education and exploitation can easily blur. Focusing solely on the gruesome details of crime can glamorize violence and disrespect the victim's suffering. Imagine yourself or a loved one being the subject of public scrutiny after a horrific event. Would you want the focus to be on the macabre details of the crime, or on the life that was tragically cut short? True crime can also have a voyeuristic element. We become armchair detectives, dissecting the lives of victims and perpetrators. But this detachment can desensitize us to the true gravity of the crimes.
And although I wasn't aware of it, I now am, and I think I agree that the more content you watch, the more gruesome it is, the more desensitized you are to the real horror of some of these crimes. And with that comes the dehumanization of the victims and their families. And of course, if you're creating content daily and you're completely immersed in that content, then you can't help but become desensitized to the content, and you begin to see the victims purely as content and not the people that they actually are. And at this point, I just want to ask everybody a question. Who's your favourite serial killer? If you've got an answer to that, go back and listen to the question. Your favourite serial killer? That's where the problem is. And you might want to ask yourself whether you should probably step away for a little while, because I can't imagine anybody should have a favourite serial killer. But if it's content and it's a narrative and it's entertainment, you can actually have a favourite serial killer. But if you see the victims and you see the victims' families, then you'd be ashamed of having an answer to that question. So we're now going to go to a young lady called Lyds, who's got an awful lot to say, and I agree with an awful lot of it.
Like, why are you upset that a trial about domestic abuse is ending? And I think a lot of people who are making content about true crime now are falling into this camp of liking true crime for entertainment and simply forgetting or ignoring that these are real stories where real people lost their lives or were seriously hurt, and there are real people out there that are still traumatized and suffering with grief as a result. This Ever since people began enjoying true crime for entertainment rather than for informational purposes, there has been a debate about whether producing such content is disrespectful to the victims and their families, particularly where the content focuses on a recent crime, usually a murder or a series of murders that's captured kind of the world's attention. An article written in 1991 by Jack Miles explored the difference between producing content focusing on real versus fictional crime stories, and explained that in his view, true crime had a high potential to cause trauma and mental harm to the real people who'd been involved in their crime and those people's families. And the damage to people involved likely comes from both being thrust into the public eye without wanting to because of a traumatic event, and being forced to relive traumatic events through both the media produced and the subsequent discussion had by viewers or readers about the case.
So, even back in the 90s, they knew there was a problem. Now, Lyds goes on to talk about the problems with TikTok, but I think those problems are now very much the problems of YouTube too. So let's listen to what she says.
It's also worth mentioning that this widespread public discourse could make it really difficult if there is a trial, because finding an unbiased jury when misinformation is being spread like wildfire is going to be really difficult, because it's very likely that a number of people who are called up for jury duty will have seen and potentially remembered information that they saw online about this case that either isn't true or is not admissible in court, therefore making them ineligible to be a juror.
So I guess the question that we all need to ask ourselves is, what is the impact of misinformation and speculation being told as facts on an active case having on that active case, and what harm is it causing? And I think when we go into this a little bit deeper in maybe another video, we'll realise quite how harmful it is. And whether we like it or not, our activity on social media is impacting on active cases by misinformation, by warnings to the perpetrators, and by some various other things that are going on, which I will talk about in another video. I'm going to bring this video to an end. It's sunny outside, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon here, and I want to go out and enjoy it. I also don't want to rush this because it is a very important subject, so I've just given you a little taster of what's about to come. I'm going to do some more research, and hopefully next week I will be able to formulate my thinking a little clearer and start to also look into the other areas of damage that true crime content can do. And remember, if you're watching true crime and you're consuming content, there is a cost. And finally, I'm just going to leave a question for the creators out there. Something that I've pondered on when I've been putting up my videos, and I quite like to ask you this question. Maybe you can answer it on your own stream, or maybe you can answer me in the comments. But when you go to YouTube, you upload your information, put into the description, you have to select an option in the category section. And I'd like to ask you, do you choose entertainment or do you choose education? Anyway, I hope you found this video thought-provoking, because that's what it's meant to be, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like if you want to. Obviously, again, as I normally say, this is open for anybody to use. It's a community video. It's there to help and to give a tool for other people to discuss things, and hopefully if you can use it that way, that would be great. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll probably see you in chat sometime, somewhere, maybe.